All right. So there's been a few questions, and anyone that's watching live, we have a number of people watching live. Feel free to join in the Q&A for the after party, right? Maybe we should just call it an after party, not a Q&A from now on. The medical device security and vulnerability after party.
You get a lot more people showing up.
People like to come to a party with Tony Giandomenico. Fortinet.
Great.
You should come at HIMSS. I know that some of the people at Fortinet, we've done some good events together at HIMSS. Maybe we'll do one this year again.
Nice.
But anyone that's there, feel free to click the call-in button and we can add you. And you can join in on the conversation. Certainly welcome you to do that. If you want to share on Twitter on the left, definitely do that. But we'll start. Ryan Lucas submitted a question. I'll be interested to hear your thoughts. He said, do you have an opinion on the national patient identifier within the context of security?
I don't really know. I really apologize. I don't really know too much about the national kind of patient identifier. I don't know if I can kind of comment on that too much at this point.
So, I'll throw in my 2 cents. I think the challenge is, if you have a national patient identifier, it's similar to the discussion we had earlier. You can't really cancel your national patient identifier and get a new one, or I can't imagine how that would throw off the whole system. So I think having it is somewhat of a challenge. But, we do have a national patient identifier right now. It's called a social security number, and that gets breached all the time. We also have a national patient identifier called our name, birthday, address, and, that's getting breached, and we can't cancel those either. So I'm not sure it makes us any worse than what we're at today.
Yeah, I have to agree. Yeah, I would definitely agree.
And it looks like Amir he chimed in earlier about this. So, we'll have him, he's virtual since he's afraid to hop on camera because of his sickness, I guess. He said, am I pronouncing it wrong? Is it Amar, not Amir?
It's actually Amir, as in America.
Okay,
yes.
America. Anyway, he said, it looks like he may try to join us. He said, MBI is supposed to help exchange information between medical providers more easily. That already happens. I think MPI by nature will remain controversial.
There he is.
The issue of privacy in the forefront. People don't want the possibility of their health information available or potentially vulnerable. Private organizations have many different interests and not sure how many people would trust them for keeping their health info safe. And there we go. I just quote the man and he shows up. That's how we do it in Blab.
Wow. Not only did he show up, but he's got a tie on.
Yeah, look at that. I'm feeling like underdressed.
Well, Tony, I have to just try and keep up with you because you're looking so good out there in that studio. So
I love it.
The only thing that I'll add to that is that I think a lot of people are just going to have a hard time trusting private companies to keep medical information. They do that already. We know large hospitals share information out all the time. But I think the National Patient Identifier just puts that privacy issue in the forefront. And I think that's going to be difficult. And then, the government has already proved they have a hard time protecting information. If you just look at like the OPM breach where we had people with their secret information and classified information being hacked, right? If the government can't protect against that, I think people will have a hard time trusting all their medical information, to the government. So that's the one thing.
Good point.
Yeah, I think that's even a bigger security issue, right? The people love to say, how come the government hasn't provided us one EHR, and why don't they provide one database for all my patient health info? And all the security people are like, are you kidding me? One place where all the info is getting, hackers would love that. So interesting. There was another question I wanted to ask you that's kind of off topic to this, but related to healthcare security. What do you guys think of the blockchain technology as far as security? Have you done any work on that? And do you think that has potential to keep us more secure?
Mar, you can handle that one.
Well, I think the blockchain model has a lot of potential. Obviously it got popular because of Bitcoin, but we just see that it has a lot of potential for verifying information, for validating information. I think it's very, very early to see how it's going to be used in healthcare specifically, but my mind does go into a few different places that I think it will be used, or at least part of that technology will be used. I think it's just too early to really guess exactly how it's going to be used, but I'd be very surprised if we don't see it being implemented in some way or form in the future here.
No, definitely. My buddy's implementing one right now, and he describes it just the way that every data scientist would love, right? That you have no idea who the patient is, but you can be able to do the analysis on the data, which is the dream of every data scientist, right? No across the population, but no worries of HIPAA. Yeah. So interesting. Ryan offered, is it better to consolidate that data at the state level? That's what we're building instead. I think the state HIEs or RIOs, depending on where you're at, have the same vulnerabilities of a national HIE, but it just splits it across 50 states as opposed to one place. Yep. So, I guess it's like anything, more points of opportunity to be breached.
Yep.
So good and bad. All right. Well, if there's any other questions from the audience, feel free to throw them in. You can do /Q in a space and add your question. Happy to answer it. Or, there's an open seat. I know I see Susan Biddle what's her rapper name? I just forgot her rapper name. I remember her Little Bizzles, but I don't know if you guys know that rap video about her. You should look her up.
Wow.
Oh, Bizzle for Shizzle.
Ah.
She would be good. Hop on if you want to ask any questions. Amir, anything else you want to add to what we were talking about?
No, I think Tony did a great job covering everything. And I apologize I wasn't on earlier. I was fighting a little bit of a cough, but no, I think Tony covered pretty much everything.
Excellent. Well, I think this topic is only going to get more interesting because we get more and more data on technology, and so we really need to build up the capability to handle security. It's the right thing to do. So, all right. Any other questions from the audience? I guess my final question for you is where's all this headed? What's the right approach that people should take? If you're a healthcare organization.
Well, I can start off here. I think you're going to slowly probably start to see more, stringent, regulations, because the reality of it is, even though we have these attacks that are happening all the time in the healthcare organization, people aren't going to do anything necessarily, above and beyond to be able to, properly secure that data, whether it's because they don't have the expertise, or the manpower, or it's just. I always look at security. If it's not going to enable the business, or it's not going to drive more revenue, or be an enhancement sort of feature, which actually can be a competitive advantage over someone else, it's going to be difficult for them to adopt security. You hear I hear this often when someone says the word security to the average employee, they equate that to the fact that you're now going to limit me from being able to do my business. So we have to start to change that methodology, or that kind of way of thinking, where security is going to be an enabler, not an inhibitor, right? And I think that comes from a cultural change. Some of the other industries and organizations are going through that. We as security professionals, if you hired me to come in and secure your environment, I can only do so much. I can, fortify that network as much as possible. But if I don't have the buy-in and the support from all the employees, it's going to be difficult. We all need to be in this, together. We're all on the same team. We're all trying to combat the bad guys, all as one team, and we're uniting against them. We have to be able to unite more.
So you can't solve the people problem yourself. You can only do so much, right?
Yep.
Interesting. Yeah, that's one of the biggest challenges, I think, in healthcare, is just kind of some apathy towards security. I call it the just enough. Just enough so I can sleep at night approach to, and really they say to HIPAA, not even to security. Which is subtly different but related, right?
Well, that's a scary thing, right? I mean, even as these regulations start to become more sort of stringent, again, it's, hey, I'm meeting compliance, and the thing should be you're meeting security, right? So, taking that approach where I'm looking at it from a risk perspective, I'm building a security program and I'm monitoring and I'm building my program based on pure risk, and I'm overlaying that with ensuring that I'm meeting my compliance objectives. But number one, you got to make sure that you're addressing the risks to the business.
Interesting. Phoenix, welcome to the Blab. Did you have a question or comment you wanted to throw in there?
Yeah, as I was listening to him talk about the securities and all that, my situation is different, but I wanted to ask, how can you trust companies with the security of, your personal information, with the breaches and everything, when you have situations where the people inside of the companies themselves are not actually doing what they're supposed to do to begin with? You can't trust them.
So how do we trust humans that are imperfect and quite frankly, some don't care, right? I mean, that goes back to what we were talking
about. For example, okay, let me put it this way. For example, I got injured by a medical device, and it came out, and there's over 100,000 lawsuits right now for these particular medical devices out. The company that I have it with actually somehow didn't get it through the 510K stupid process of the FDA until 2008, but it was on the market in 2005. But they actually ended up going through a company, and the company told them not to use it inside the human body, but they didn't tell the company that's what they were using it for. Mm-hmm. And so they actually kind of breached in far as, that company's trust. And then to me, the FDA and everybody else's trust, the doctor's trust and the patient's trust and everybody else. So how do you trust them with all your other stuff when you can't trust them to actually make a product that's going to not kill you?
So you bring up an interesting point. I mean, we've been talking about it from a security perspective since, that's Tony and Amir's expertise. But, it sounds like it's very similar from a device reliability perspective. If it's not reliable, then they won't trust it. You won't trust the organization. It seems like there's a parallel there. I don't think Tony and Amir can really talk about reliability of medical devices, but there is that same trust component. And maybe that's why what we're talking about is so important, is if we don't ensure the security of the medical devices, then we'll lose the trust of the patients.
Exactly.
A good point.
I don't buy nothing from this company now. And this is a huge company. I mean, I didn't realize how huge this company was, but you just about can't go out and buy anything that this company doesn't make. And it's the pelvic mesh.
The real challenge with that from security is that, I've been reading more and more tweets and stuff that says, has anyone not been breached?
Yeah, right.
Exactly.
Does that mean we just can't shop anywhere, right?
Let me tell you, in the past year, me and my husband have gotten, I think, 3 letters from Blue Cross Blue Shield Federal for some type of breach. He has gotten a letter from the Air Force base that he works at, due to my medical device. Sorry, I can't sit up, so I have to lay, and my pillow fell. I had to travel from Georgia to UCLA to have surgery, and UCLA got breached, and I got a letter talking about I had, personal information breached there. I think we've gotten about 6 letters between us with 6 different monitoring companies that we could sign up with because our data had been breached in different scenarios. And I'm like, good God, people, what are y'all doing? It's not that hard.
Actually, I think it is that hard. Don't you think, Tony and Amir?
Yeah, it's not easy. I mean, but I think I wanted to comment on what she was saying. I think in the I talked about this a little bit earlier on. As you know, I use that car analogy. Remember, I don't know, maybe it's been 10, 15 years ago. I don't really remember, but there really wasn't any airbags in vehicles, right? I mean, it wasn't basically, people were getting killed. The vehicles weren't as safe as they probably should have been. And airbags, would be the thing to protect them. But until they were able to leverage that as a feature and a competitive advantage over, the other vendors or car manufacturers, it didn't move. Now you see on, TV now, you'll watch a, commercial, and they'll be talking about, wouldn't you want to protect your family, your precious family inside, this vehicle that's more safe than that vehicle, in essence. So I think until you can leverage security and the things that organizations are sort of doing, I don't think we'll get as much of a sort of a, push if they can't use it as a competitive advantage to ultimately goes back to the money factor. It's going to be difficult, I think, to get everybody on board from a security perspective.
Right now, there's not really a competitive advantage or even a financial advantage to secure. I mean, sometimes it's cheaper for corporations to buy cyber insurance and prepare for the liability than to actually secure, which is
a good point.
Which is kind of sad. I mean, we see that all the time.
You can see a hospital marketing. We take care of you and your data.
Yes.
See, what you were saying was I'm actually a little more old-fashioned. I'm more of the if it's not broke, don't fix it. And I don't like airbags. I feel like they do more harm than good. And so does my dad. And people were riding for years, decades without airbags. And I actually, like I said, I love technology. I have a bachelor's degree in it, and I can't work, but I love it. I love everything about it. But I think it has made us as humans, it has made us lazy. And we rely on it too much to do what we used to do back in a time when things worked and things were more safe. And it goes back to that, if it's not broke, don't fix it. We're trying to simplify our lives, and it's making it more complicated.
Well, it is a balance, right? Because technology has the potential to do a lot of good, but it can also do a lot of damage. So, you have to balance the benefit of it. I mean, you have to be careful because you don't want to take it so far that we don't have any progression because we'd miss out on all the benefits. I mean, take this, for example, 4 of us across the country having a discussion about medical device security, even, 4 years ago would not have been possible in this format. So,
True.
You have to take the good with the bad, I guess. And, I think the message here, I think it's beautiful. I'm glad you hopped on, Phoenix. We'll see if anyone else wants to talk and we'll open your seat and see if anyone else wants to join. But, I think it's a beautiful way to end, right? It kind of bookends our whole comments, having Phoenix on and telling her patient's story about being breached multiple times and her loss of trust with the healthcare institution because they were unable or unwilling or whatever the reason is to take care of the patient. And I think that's really what's at risk here. Sure, there's penalties from HIPAA. Sure, there's reputational penalties. But if they lose the trust of the patient, then you can't provide care.
Yeah, I agree.
So I think that's a good way to wrap it up. Hard to bookend a patient. Hard to be better than a patient's story. So thank you, Phoenix, for joining and sharing that perspective. And thank you to Tony Giandomenico from Fortinet, and we even had Amir who showed up for the after party. Interesting. He didn't want to be part of the regular session, but he came to the after party. A man after my own heart.
I love it.
Thanks.
Hey, how can you say no to a good after party, right?
Definitely. So thanks everyone for joining. We'll be taking a little break from doing Healthcare Scene Hangouts from the holidays, although we may do some casual ones, off the record just to enjoy the community. But we got a number more planned for January, so check it out at healthcarescene.com, and you can also see at blab.im/EHRNHIT. We'll schedule them out there. So thanks everyone for joining us, and thank you again to Tony and Amir.
Thanks.
And you guys have a good day.